mode.
Change presenter.
There you go. Now I can.
Hey,
Yes, everyone can see your screen because you started the webinar.
hang on, just let me.
It started. Everyone
I'm
can
off
see.
this thing. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. And let's see, screen 1, screen 2. My screen should be up right now.
Yes, it is. And the webinar has, you actually click the button. Everyone can hear and see what you're sharing.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So what time we got here? We got a few minutes to get started, so.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute myself.
Yep. All right, Catherine, I'm going to wait. There's a number of people coming on still, so they're just starting to come in.
That's fine. I muted myself.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody. We're right at about 5 o'clock. I'm going to give another minute or so for a lot of attendees are coming on right on the dot. So let's give a minute for that. A couple things also is that you can review there is a chat log at the bottom. If you have specific questions, we'll try and deal with those as they come in. So if you have any specific questions that have not been answered, you can put those into the questions tab or the chat. And then we'll be trying to address all those. We had some questions that came in with the initial surveys, and we'll try and address those for the attendees as well. And we look forward to a good event. So let's just give another minute and let some last minute people come on, and then we'll get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with getting to the root of it with sewer inspections. We're going to talk a little bit about expanding your vision and increasing your opportunity. Today's presentation, a little bit of housekeeping for you. We're going to be discussing a few things, just a couple things to understand about GoToWebinar. Everybody is on mute, so you'll only hear the speaker. However, you can ask questions in the questions tab, and we will try to answer them towards the end of the presentation. There is a handouts tab, so if at any point you get bored with what we're talking about, it's something to look at. All right. Also, we have some great show specials that we're going to talk about, webinar specials we would call them as well. And then throughout the presentation, we're going to do a few polls and kind of let everybody see where they're at, and then we'll kind of publish the results of that. So give your input so everybody can see your thoughts on doing a survey. And as I said at the end, we'll have some special opportunities we'll discuss and how to take advantage of those. So our agenda today, we're going to go through getting to the root of it. We're going to talk about how to make some money with it, why do it, will my borrowers go for it, what kind of equipment does it take, some sewer basics. We're going to talk about some examples and show me the money. A little bit of Q&A at the end and a little closing. So this presentation is myself along with Catherine Hall here today. Catherine, are you on the line?
I absolutely am. Thank you so much.
All right. Absolutely, and we really are thankful for you and your group coming on today, and we hope to enlighten people and helping them understand how a consultant can make more money, right? We all want to make more money.
Absolutely, and money that the borrower actually doesn't really have to pay for because it comes back to them and it just adds to their mortgage.
Well, excellent. Well, you know, one of the things that I want to leave to is I'm going to let you answer those in-depth questions because I know you've been diving in deep with a lot of research with how to make this all happen and build this in. Thank you very much for your efforts on that. And I want to stick to a lot of the technical when it comes to doing the sewer, and I want to help these guys be successful, and together hopefully we can give them a strong start to making more money. So a couple of things to keep in mind is, you know, in what you do in your career. Some of you are contractors, home inspectors that have come into this 203K field, and, you know, you can imagine, you know, you have options when it comes to your business and you have requirements, things that you must do. And so you have to decide, is it, are you looking to stick to the basics, or do you want to blow away your competition? Do you want to be that consultant that's called for on those jobs? And the thing to keep in mind is that if you want to exceed those standards, we want to make sure that you get paid for it. Obviously, you're going to be increasing some risk, and we will talk about that today. But with, I think, everybody here, you can think of it like this. You probably have an insurance policy, you know, and if you were to call up your broker and ask them, will they increase your policy, they would probably say yes. And with that would probably increase your premium. And you're going to be no different. So if you're going to offer additional services, make sure that you do get paid for it. But in the end, you're going to see an increased reward, which will make all the sense. So obviously adding, I'm using quoted, approved services, which, Catherine, we're approved, right?
We are.
Doing sewer inspections are an approved service.
It is an allowable fee.
All right, so we want to make sure you guys have that clear and an understanding in regards to why would we want to even do this. So they are a needed service, and people need this service, and they will request it. It's really going to be you offering these opportunities for them. So think of 203 consultants, and maybe Catherine can, you know, this is just my little Google, but if you take offense to this,
no, I love football. We are
all right.
We do love football. Many of us in our association are definitely football fans. I'm a Bengals fan, if that means yes. I like to be laughed at, so yes, very much so. And actually, the 203K consultant is absolutely the offensive coordinator, and we're more like the coach. We're there. We choose the team. We help choose the team. We help call the plays. And when things don't go correctly, we're the ones that come up with the alternative, that Hail Mary 11th hour, you know, that 5-second play that makes the deal and makes the game a winner. So yes, we are that We are that key man in the transaction.
Excellent. Well, when a property, obviously when you go out as a consultant and you see that they're in need of repairs, they depend on a good consultant, right?
Yes,
Somebody who has great experience and somebody that understands a lot of aspects about that home, but they're going to be the ones making these recommendations for things that they would need to make this a great home, correct?
yeah, and as a consultant, our job is rather challenging because in many cases we have to make assessments on what the mandatory repairs are going to be in a home where all the utilities are turned off.
Yeah. So the good news about especially things like sewer scans is they're not going to necessarily require utility because what we're looking at is the infrastructure of that sewer lateral. So, you're there to provide advice on what needs to be done, right?
Absolutely. In fact, it's more so, it's more than advice. An FHA consultant is the individual that mandates those things that must be included in the mortgage to meet HUD minimum property standards.
Excellent. So they're looking out for their client's best interest, you
Absolutely.
know? And so typically a consultant is paid for by the buyer or put into a fee in the loan.
The consultant it's always, with very few exceptions, is paid by the borrower prior to closing. And the reason why we use the term borrower over buyer is because about 30%, 30 to 40% of our clients are not home buyers. They're homeowners that are refinancing their mortgage and are using the 203K to better improve their property. And so what happens is all fees that the borrower pays to the consultant out of pocket are then included in the mortgage and deducted from their closing cost. And they're paid that money back if they've already, if it is a buyer and they've already brought X amount of dollars to the table, they would then deduct that amount from the closing costs that they had to bring. And if they brought a certified check, they'll actually get a check cut back to them at the settlement table. Or if they did not bring that much to the table, it's okay because that money is actually rolled into the mortgage and it's considered a paid on contract expense.
Excellent. So, all right. Well, reality is that your clients are there. They're hiring you to tell them what they need to do to make this a good property. And in the end, you have opportunities to make more money. You just need to know how to capture it. So that's our goal here, right? To make sure
Absolutely.
these guys know what they need to do.
Yes.
All right. So is there a need for sewer inspections? All right. Obviously, a lot of things that you do is what you can see, what you can physically see with this home. And I can tell you from a home inspection aspect, home inspectors will test a toilet or flush it, or they look at the condition of it and they'll report what they physically see, but they don't know the true condition of the things that are unseen. And so that's where we need to understand a little bit of the opportunity here. So here's a big thing to know is that if you do a little search on the internet, you'll see some costs that it takes. One thing I can tell you is that the minimum repair on a sewer line, so if we have a sewer lateral, which is the main line between the house and the city connection or the septic, it's typically minimum is going to be about $2,500 for a repair. That can be a significant outflow of cash that somebody's not going to be too happy about, to find that they have to do later. So even if they're existing in their home, a lot of people don't realize that their sewer line could be compromised. So the first thing is understanding the opportunity that just because you take a bath every day and you brush your teeth and your line may not have blocked up, you may still have a problem. And I tell you, a lot of people don't realize that when they call Bubba's routing service and the guy comes out, they don't know that that's actually, it's like, roots that grow and drains are like hair. You get a haircut, but you're going to have to get another haircut in a couple of months. And that's the same thing with roots as they continue to grow. All you did was give them a little trimming. So, and when they come back, it could be just that right time that line blocks up. So, I've had homes with $20,000, $30,000 repairs on lines, and really it depends on depth, length, all can be factors. Do they have to cut up concrete, streets? Once you get into the street, a public street, it starts at around $10,000 as a minimum repair, because if Public Works has to get involved, it gets very intricate. So a couple things to know. Obviously, inspections identify visual conditions, and the unseen is what we're going to be talking about here today. Now, a couple things to consider when doing a sewer scan and why you might incorporate this into your business. Obviously, first and foremost is additional revenue that you can make, but you're probably going to want to understand what is this going to mean for you in actually doing the survey. And so it can average between 15 and 30 minutes. It really depends on the area of the country you are. We do get some guys in some really old properties, 100-something-year-old homes that have very difficult systems to get into. And but Catherine, what's an average consultant fee that these guys might be charging to go out and do a consultant 203K?
Well, the fee that a consultant charges is based upon the repair amount. And so the average fee that a consultant gets for the typical $50,000 to $70,000 consulting fee is $700 to $800 plus mileage.
Okay, so obviously, if we're adding a $20,000 sewer repair to this, that can make a big impact for that consultant.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, because that's that much more repair items. That's a repair item that will be the cost of the repair is based upon. So yes, if you find that there is a necessity to replace or repair a large segment of the sewer line, then that cost is increased into the repair amount, and therefore the fee that the consultant charges is based upon that. And so if you're talking about a $20,000 repair, you're going from a $700 fee up to a $900 to $1,000 that the consultant receives. So you're making the money to do the sewer scan. So you're going to charge your fee for your sewer scan and get paid that up front, and then you get additional revenue for the consulting services based upon the newfound repairs. So you're getting paid twice.
Excellent. I love to hear that. All right. So obviously these numbers can go quite up based on what your findings are. I'll tell you statistically, I'm in Southern California area, and I would tell you probably 80% of the sewers that I inspect have problems. And so that's a pretty good number when you think about, hey, what percentage of the jobs that you do will have problems? It'll vary depending on age, but obviously there could be a great opportunity for you out there. So, some people look at, will the brokers, lenders, et cetera, go for it? And, whether the house is if it's a currently owned home, people become immune sometimes to things like they'll have a broken window, they don't realize, they forget about it, and you bring it to light, hey, you got problems with this. So, your job is to bring this to light, and obviously that can lead to additional revenues for you. If something is under a purchase where the home is being purchased and they're getting that lending, obviously, people will negotiate certain things in this process, but I can tell you, a broken sewer is not something that people will typically negotiate. They'll usually say, I want that fixed. They can deal with a reverse polarity or a little bit of electrical or a heating unit that might be a little noisy, but I'm going to tell you, I don't know too many people that would say, yeah, I'll take a broken sewer, because this is really the infrastructure of that home, and as far as making it functional. So it's likely going to be a requirement of a sale or renovation, and obviously knowing up front is better than finding out later.
And can I interject something about that sentence
you
said about knowing up front is better than finding out midstream? That's so important, because as an FHA consultant, we are going to be identifying and determining a contingency reserve amount to be added to the loan to cover unforeseen problems. The more you can't see and detect before closing, the more you don't know, the higher that contingency has to be. And if you can identify a possible condition like a broken sewer line, and you do not have to, and you can actually reduce the contingency and therefore save money for the borrower on their mortgage. Because if your contingency is going to be, instead of 20%, you can make the contingency 10 or 15%. You're talking 15% of, removing 5% off of a $50,000 repair amount. So that's a substantial saving on the mortgage, which translates to interest savings, and it makes the borrower more able to qualify for the loan. So if you can feel more comfortable about the condition of the property because you've reduced the contingency, because you now know, hey, we do have a broken sewer line, we're going to add it to the repairs. This is one less unforeseen problem I have to worry about when the water's turned on. You're going to save that borrower money in their mortgage.
Excellent. Well, this is getting better as we get through this. Geez. All right. Well, one of the things to keep in mind is obviously doing the surveys, and there's a lot of agents and brokers. There's different perspectives. You get ones that say, I want to look the other way and not know, but that's really not what we want, because we know that'll lead to problems. I've been an inspector for 22 years, and I've done over 7,000 inspections in my time. And I can tell you, I've never had a lawsuit or a claim filed against me. And the reason why is I always want to look out for my client's best interest and for them. And I never let agents tell me what I should and shouldn't say. But I think agents are coming to terms and understanding that, the true successful agent is realizing that their business is not about today. It's about tomorrow, because if these clients are happy, they'll refer them going forward. And that's really the same attitude. We want to always have that, where people are happy with the work that we do, because if they're not, it's going to just flow right down. You heard the term, especially in a sewer. What flows down? I don't know. Okay, let's not talk about that.
Well, and you use the term real estate broker. The person who I know loves the option of us providing this service are the mortgage brokers, because you have to understand, the mortgage broker, the company who's going to actually write this loan, they have to be concerned about default. And if we don't include this cost, and after closing, when the water gets turned on, we find that there is a $15,000 or $20,000 sewer repair that isn't able to be in court, where there is no money to fix that, you might have a default situation where the borrower leaves the home because they can't fix it. And then the lender, the mortgage broker, is stuck with a home that's irreparable. So the mortgage brokers are thrilled. The underwriters love the fact that we can give them this information and let them know one less thing that's going to be left to the unknown after closing.
Well, it's a great point, because I know in California you take a $10,000 repair and it's probably a drop in the bucket, but there's certain areas of the country where $10,000 means this place ain't even worth it, and people would walk away from it. So very important information to know. So let's show you guys a couple of things that this is, in this particular case, this was a broker who shared with me this story in a home that they had sold, where the client, after the inspection, nothing was done, nothing was found out. They went through and purchasing this home and had a pretty expensive repair. Now, I want you to understand, this is the toilet was pulled, and this is the roots that were going through that drain line. Now, these roots didn't originate inside the house. All these roots are doing is looking to feed their family. They're trying to grow that tree. So, they started outside and traveled quite a distance to get to here. But once you do this, every time you flush the toilet, you're giving that root what it wants. But this is eventually going to be the block up that causes the problem in the house. And I think if you can see that picture, that's probably a bath that you don't want to jump into. So anyway, so that's what we're trying to prevent. And these are the things that can really happen. I mean, you think of, if you do have utilities on when you go in the home, you test. A lot of people are just testing functional drainage, but when you turn on a tub, it would go right past those roots. But when you start flushing solids and products down there, it might be more. Well, that's the thing with the cameras. We don't need to flush anything. We can run a camera down there and see the true condition of that drain line. So a couple things to think about in your business, and how many of these homes really fall into this category? Are they over 20 years old? Probably a good portion of your business. You ever shown up at a house and seen like a new clean out, or it seems like the clean out's being opened a lot? Those are really suspectful of where we might have problems. Obviously, you go into a home and seeing trees in the front. You'll see in the front of the house this clean out, and then you see a large tree in the way, in the direction. If you were to look out in the middle of the street, you'll see where, when we have public sewer, you'll see the big 36-inch disc or so in the middle of the street sewer. That's where the house is going to. So it might have 80 foot or more between that house and that line. and anything in between is looking for an opportunity like a break in that line. Well, the things that happen obviously is the streets can get repaved, trash trucks cause vibration, these pipes come apart, they separate. We're going to show you some of those examples. So kind of, the things to think about is when you consider your fees and how can a sewer scan impact you and make a difference for you, think about what your average fee might be in your business, whether it be a 203K or home inspection or such. And I think a lot of people have always been looking for, hey, we all want more money, but what we do is we charge what the market will yield or what it'll pay. But, when there are things like this that is an approved fee for a service you offer that you can make additional money on, why wouldn't you do it? So a couple things to know industry-wide is typically plumbers are charging between $200 and $500 for a sewer inspection. There are areas of the country, I can tell you, I hear in Colorado there's guys that are charging $150, $175 for these surveys. And, the same thing falls for home inspections. There's guys in my area, my average home inspection is about $550. But there are guys in my area that advertise they'll do any size home for $250. That's less than half of what I charge. But I'm still booked out 4 to 5 to 7 days at a time for what I offer. So I always look at it like, hey, there's going to be always people who will charge that. But I like the fact that I can offer these additional things and make my fee go from $550 to $725 pretty easily, and these buyers will hire me. Many times I've been seeing a trend north of us here in Los Angeles where it's become a standard. You do a little Google search on Zillow and you'll see that it's become almost a standard that, especially during a real estate transaction, that a sewer line is pretty much mandatory. So, your clients are going to depend on you to suggest things that put things in there that are going to help them be successful with this home. And like Catherine mentioned that, it's going to make a win-win for everybody if we have success. If we have a failed system, that can lead to a failed loan. And that doesn't work good for anybody. It comes back to why didn't we know this? Well, you always have protections for you, like I couldn't say what I couldn't see. But, I'm willing to extend my responsibility and liability if I'm going to be paid for it. And, there's a number of questions that people had as far as liability. And, I look at it as unless you're blind, there's not a lot of liability in this. And the reason why is because you're running a sewer camera down a line, and if you have a problem, you report it. But if you go down that line and you see a big root growing in there and you don't say anything about it, well, then you probably deserve liability, But I don't think most people, you're looking at a 4-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch drain line, it's pretty easy to see where those problems are. All right, so first, a couple of things to keep in mind is that what is the probability of this, doing the sewer inspections, and what do you kind of look for? I usually find that any home that's over 20 years old, they have trees between the main house. Keep in mind, I've had 10-year-old houses with problems. So, and I think I mentioned that 80% of the homes that I inspect have problems. I used to only really inspect the homes that were over 20 years, but I've been getting requests with homes that are newer. In fact, I had a brand new one that we did it on and we had a problem. So the key is that, I've been doing homes that are younger than 20, and, I do have them that are clean, that have no problem. And that's why my numbers went from 90% failure to 80%, because I've been doing more and more homes, and that's because of client demand. In fact, I use a scheduling office that coordinates a lot of my surveys, inspections, and they sell it up front. And so I can have a very simple home with 10 years old with I had a 15-foot sewer line the other day. It took me literally 3 minutes to do it. So anyway, so if you see over 20 years old trees and an accessible clean out, obviously this is an opportunity. And I want you guys to understand that we're going after the cream of the crop. You can outsource, obviously, surveys to people that if you can't do it, you're only here. I'm after the ones that I can do that are easily done. And you don't have to necessarily go through a clean out. Sometimes if I have a composition shingle roof, a low slope or whatever, I'll do it from the rooftop. just going through, as long as I have a 3-inch clean out. So you can do this with, not just from the ground, but from the roof if you need to. And so, but if I don't have an accessible clean out, I don't have an accessible or easily, safely done roof, then I'm going to put a recommendation that this gets outside, service done. And so keep in mind that still would lead to opportunity for you, but, for your fee that you charge up front, you obviously you're going to go after the cream of the crop. So I use the following as a fee structure for me. I normally charge $350, and this is what I market to the public. I'm not after for doing standalone sewer, and you may be very much the same, where your only intention is that if you're going to be going out on a survey of a property, then you would incorporate this, or if you're doing a home inspection, you might incorporate this. And I offer this. This is up to you. Obviously, this would be your business decision. You may charge that full fee. But for me, I know that a good portion of my fee is me showing up at the door. So, my home inspection has that covered. If I do a $175 add-on, that's a 35% increase on a $500 inspection. So I sell it as $350, but if you do it at the same time while I'm there, I do it for half price. I have a 95% buy rate on that. 95% of my clients that I offer that to take me up on that. And I can tell you, I've got testimonial videos from my customers that say, well, I did that because you gave me half price. So you have to decide how you want to do it, because people know that, hey, if I go get a plumber, and you might look at $175, why is that? Well, because I'm a little bit less than what it would be if a plumber came out, because I want that money. Now, my job is to determine, do I have a problem or not in the system? It's not to figure out every problem, but it's to figure out if we do have a problem, then we're going to obviously leave that to a plumber, which is going to add additional fees on the remediation.
Well,
Keep
what's
in mind.
interesting?
Go ahead. Yeah.
And we teach this. One of the things that we teach to our members, especially those who are coming from the home inspection industry, and this is one of the things that is so wonderful about consulting, and we teach this at the 203K Discovery Days. You can take your home inspection, and if you're doing an inspection for a client, you should always be asking how that person's buying the home. So you say, how are you buying the home today? FHA, VA, or conventional? And they say FHA. You say, okay, great. And then when you offer them that sewer scan for the $175 or whatever you want to charge, and you find a problem, you might actually be able to turn that home inspection into a 203K where there's a situation that there's no one to fix the home. So if you're doing an FHA transaction and the purchaser is buying a home that's a foreclosure, or it's bank owned, or it is an estate sale, or even if it's a seller just doesn't have any money to fix the problem, you actually can turn that transaction from a regular FHA B loan into a 203K because you've identified what possibly could be a $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 repair that no one's going to be able to fix prior to closing. Therefore, you actually can make even more money walking in as a home inspector and walking out as a 203K consultant.
Great. Well, one of the key things to understand, especially in the sales process, is people buy out of fear. Keep in mind they're about to make the biggest investment of their life, or they're going to be, doing a remodeling or repair or new loan on this property, and it scares a lot of people. And that's why they have consultants and inspectors, is to help them through that process and understanding what do we need to do to make this a great property. And so when I offer these surveys, my sales process is very solid, because they buy out of the fear that if they don't do it, they know something's bad going to happen. And what they often get to do, like I said, 80% of the time, is they get to pat themselves on the back for such a great decision of adding this service. So, all right. So, I kind of gave you a little bit of the gist. I'm going to launch a poll. You guys can respond to this, based on just what we've talked about. Do you think there's an opportunity to doing sewer inspections? So anyway, so you guys can respond to that, and let us know your thoughts, and we'll let you know the feedback here as we're going through this. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the anatomy of the sewer system so you can understand kind of the basics that you're going to need to know. You'll have your home, you'll have the street, the curb, that's what we're looking in this, and obviously trees. And then the main line between the house and that city connection or the septic tank would be the sewer lateral. And there's an upper and lower lateral. It's where maybe a delineation might be. Most places in the United States, the homeowner is responsible for that sewer lateral all the way out to the sewer, the main sewer line. Okay, there are provinces in Canada and other areas where they may have a delineation in the property and the home, but most places throughout the United States, you're going to be, the homeowner's responsible all the way out to the city connection. And so that's why I tell you, it's very important, because the minute we get underneath that street, these repairs can be in the tune of literally $10,000 minimum repair. So you want to understand that if you had one root growth in one area 4 feet down, this is going to be a minimum of $2,500 repair. And there's really no other option on this. You have to do it, because that root's going to continually grow and make it worse. So
can you close the poll, because we can't see the screen when the poll is up?
Oh, you got it. How about now?
Now we can. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's your I'm just trying to look at this. I was going to share the poll after this slide here. So anyway, so your main clean out, we would be entering, so at the left side of the house, and then we would be scanning that drain line all the way down to the city connection or the septic tank. Now, a lot of times people ask me, are you doing the lines underneath the house? No, and if it's a raised foundation house and on inspection wise, we can see those. But the problems are typically out in the yard, not as much underneath the house. If I told you statistically, I'd probably find 95% of the problems are outside of the line, outside of the house envelope. So, all right, so here's the results. 86% of the people felt that there was an opportunity with doing sewer scans. All right, so here's a tip. Sewer cleanouts have always been required, and things you need to understand. And sometimes you're going to go to a house and you may not find one. Remember that I told you that the cream of the crop is what I'm after. If I can't find one and I can't do one, then I'm going to make a recommendation that they get it done. And for you guys, you might be incorporating that fee structure, and some outside plumber or whatever will be doing that. And so you got to make sure that you appropriate the fees accordingly. So if you're going to be doing it at the same time, it might be a little savings. And if you can't do it because they don't have it exposed, and a toilet might need to be pulled, typically a plumber is going to be $100 to pull that toilet. That's usually where they go through if they don't have an accessible clean out. Now, once they go through the main drain line, they can locate the clean outs. A lot of times they're buried. So typically they'll have a clean out that's at the street, right at the curb, and then there'll be a clean out at the house. And then you also have a roof vent that you could go through. And then if none of those are available, then they would, typically a plumber would have to come in, and they'll usually pull a toilet. I'm not a plumber, so I do not pull toilets. Like I said, I'm after the cream of the crop. All right, keep in mind also that when you do show up and you got an older house and you see a new clean out, there's usually a reason for that. The servicing company usually was snaking the lines from the house, and Bubba had to bring in all his equipment into the house. And there's a point at which, like the second, third time the guy's coming into your house, that you're usually making that decision. Hey, and he offers, hey, I can put a clean out outside. That's another $1,500 or $2,000, and then I never have to come in your house again. And believe me, the spouse is always saying, yeah, let's do it. All right, so this is what's bad. This is what happens. Obviously, it's just trying to feed his family. No, you are no different. You'll fight and defend for your family. So anyways, to do this survey, and this would be what's called a house trap. Some locations have a house trap. We usually will go through, you'll have a clean out at each side. So this is not the best picture, but it's just kind of showing a representation of what a guy's doing when he's looking for a problem. And then he's going to locate that where the line might be collapsed. So obviously you're going to have a sewer camera to do that service. There's a lot of different cameras on the market. I'm going to tell you, just having been in the business, I think back to when I first got in the business and the people who mentored me in home inspections. One of the most expensive tools that I bought was my ladder, and it's something that we really depend on quite a bit, as far as being able to do our job. And I knew when I got in this business in 1996 that I could have bought $100 ladder that would have done the job. So I thought, and my mentors told me, Peter, you're going to buy the Little Giant. I said, well, that ladder's $350. And they said, yeah, that's why you're going to buy it. And I said, well, I didn't have a lot of money. I was kind of spent everything I had and, getting into this business. And, I got a lot of training. And so I can tell you, I ended up buying the Little Giant ladder because I said these guys were pretty adamant. These were some big people in the home inspection industry that a lot of you guys would even know. I had the privilege of training with them, and so I still have that ladder today. I did my first 6,000 inspections with it, and I retired it many years ago and set it into my garage, and I still use it around the house. There's nothing wrong with it, and I do look back and say it was the best ladder that advice that I've ever taken. And so, what I can tell you is that I've researched every sewer camera out there, and I found there was a lot of similarities between a lot of them, and there was one that stood out to me. So I'll share what I've chosen. Obviously, it doesn't matter what car you drive, whether it's a Mercedes or a Volkswagen, to your job. The goal is that they all get you there. You're going to be more comfortable in one over the other, and you're going to be more proud of one maybe over the other. But I can tell you, when it comes to features and things, these are a couple of things that you want to consider when looking at a sewer camera. All right, so first of all, what kind of car do you drive? Do you do a lot of miles? You might have a compact car that gets great mileage. This was one of my cars, my previous car that I had. So I was very limited on space. You'll see a lot of the sewer cameras that are in the market. They'll have very big, bulky reels that were with them, and then they'll have a monitor and maybe a computer attachment on that. And you have to think about, what can you get in there? Well, this car, I have printers in there, I have computers, I have all my tools, my ladder actually went on the rack that was on the back of the car. So I was filled quite up. I didn't have room for a big reel, including, think about this car. If I got a reel that goes down the line, do I want that reel sitting inside of my vehicle that I'm going to be driving job to job with? And I know that there was one of the guys, in fact, in one of the questions, and I'll get to it, but just talking about how do you sanitize your camera, and we do discuss this in all of our full training. We give you the methods that we have found very successful with that. But nevertheless, I don't want to be carrying those things inside that I'm going to be breathing. So I did choose a camera that has a concealed case that the push rod retracts into, and then it seals inside of case. So something to think about. Another thing to think about is, how much camera line do you need? You're going to get guys in the market that'll say, hey, I need 200-foot camera, I need 150 foot as a minimum. Well, what I want to tell you is that the code requires that you have a clean out every 100 feet, and that's for as long as ever known. In fact, I posed the question to Mike Casey, and Mike told me he doesn't know when it wasn't required. They've always pretty much required cleanouts, obviously because of the fact that people have problems, and roots get in the lines. They know this in the plumbing system, and so having the cleanout is necessary. Obviously, if they didn't have a cleanout and they keep having root growth, they're going to probably put one in. So it's necessary. Now, keep in mind, if the code says you have to have one every 100 feet, but you can't find a clean out, it's probably buried. This goes back to what I was telling you is that, I'm after the cream of the crop. I know there was a question on, I don't want to pull toilets. And I can tell you that, it's your decision. I recommend that a plumber does, and I think Catherine answered that question. We're going to go through the cleanouts, and there's, most of my jobs, that is where I have those accessible. Sometimes they're not. I'll let the plumber take those jobs. So just remember, if you get 150, 200-foot line, you're going to have a bigger reel. You're going to have a bigger camera, a heavier camera. It's going to be bulkier. So a lot of things to consider. So I actually just chose a camera that has a 100-foot line, which meets pretty much all the specifications. And if I can only do 100 feet of 150 because they didn't have an accessible clean out, you know, there's things that I've got disclaimers that protect me because of that. All right, so there are a couple different kinds of camera heads out there. There is a fixed camera head. This is probably 90% of the sewer cameras on the market. All right, it has a fixed focus forward camera. So you're going to see like 120-degree field of view. So it's looking forward. It will see items on the left side of the pipe, probably maybe 8 inches to a foot out from you in the front of you, because you got to light it and illuminate it. And then there are pan and tilt. There are only about 2 or 3 manufacturers that make a pan and tilt. Now, I have secondary reasons that I chose a pan and tilt camera, and the reasons why is because I have additional opportunities, and maybe Catherine can answer. Do any of the guys in 203K do chimney inspections too?
To actually know, I mean, they might, but you have to understand, as an FHA consultant, we don't even have to go on a roof.
Okay, well, the reason why, well, and you don't have to go on a roof to do a chimney inspection, and the reason why I tell you this is because, you know, the company that I chose they make chimney cameras and sewer cameras, and they have other tools that they sell as well. But the thing is that I have built the kit that converts a sewer camera, which is the largest portion of your expense, and then another $1,200 turns this into a chimney camera where you can do it from the bottom up. And so once again, you know, I can tell you a brick chimney teardown is like 10 grand by the time they replace it. So, you know, if they have to pull it down brick by brick, these things get pricey, and $10,000 can be another fee. So these are things that, you know, I looked at a camera that has not just what I want today, but what I might do in the future. In fact, you can go through heating ducts, you can go through flue pipes and see things. And what I like about the pan and tilt is that when I get to a problem, I can rotate my camera head and I'm looking at something that's 2 inches away from me. And I can get beautiful pictures that help me address and assess the situation better than looking at something that's 12 or 18 inches away from me because of the design. So, you know, one of the key things that I want you to understand is you absolutely can go out and buy a $1,000 sewer camera. You know, there's $500 cameras out there, but they don't have all the features you're going to need. You're going to have to record it and produce a product for your customer so that they can see the extent of the repairs that are needed. A lot of times plumbers will want to see a video so they know the extent of when they're bidding the repair, which, you know, like I said, you guys will be able to estimate the things, but if you need an additional support on that, they're going to want to see some of those photos and how deep and things like that. So, so the pan and tilt does leave that opportunity. And like I said, you know, you can have that opportunity looking further into things like chimneys later that, you know, Catherine will go get some approval for that one too, right? All right, so one thing definitely you'll need is the ability to record what you're looking at. So, you know, you want to make sure that that sewer camera has a video recording and then it also has the ability, you know, to do photos. Now, what you can use is software. You can just record a video and then extract photos out of video. Pretty standard in most softwares that you can do that, but you want to have some type of recorder that's available to you. You're going to need absolutely is a distance counter. So what I do when I do surveys is I mention to people that I entered the sewer clean out at the garage or at the front of the house, to the right side of the house, etc. And usually when I start recording my sewer inspection, I go through from that point, and it's calculating that distance. So in this particular case, you know, 19 feet into the sewer line, I had a 90% block. That is a full root growth. That was one of the first sewer inspections I did. And I can tell you, you know, when I look trying to get training and learning how to do this stuff, there is no training out there. You know, they expect plumbers to know what they're doing, and these companies that make these sewer cameras, Rigid and General and Wohler and all this stuff, it's kind of like, well, you already know what to do. So that was one of the key things in why Catherine and talking to me is that I actually spent about 14 months developing curriculum and training on how to do this so that you know what to do when you go out there and start doing these surveys. I did some of the pitfalls for you, and it's all I discussed.
That's where we are. That's where we have an extreme synergy, because there's no training for 203K consulting. And that's what we've done. I took my 25 years as a consultant and I created the training program, just like you created your training program, so that people don't have to wander around wondering, what do I do this? So this is so important that, you guys understand that he's giving you something that is pretty unique in the industry. Not only his personal expertise, but he's actually formalized a training that will give you that confidence to do your first one with complete comfort.
Absolutely. And I'll share you some feedback on that. So another thing that you're going to need to know is that when you do have a problem, a portion of the time you may need to locate that. So you want to make sure you have a sewer camera with a sonde and then a locator. These locators are typically anywhere from about $1,200 to $2,000. The Wohler has one that works with the camera, and it ends up being only about $700 of the cost when you buy it in a package. So that's important if you're trying to locate. Depending on where you are in the country, if when you find a problem, you're not going to be the one digging it up and figuring it out. Usually the plumbing company has their sewer camera. They're going to do the final locate and determine the extent of the problems to help match. You obviously will budget for it based on some general information, but if you in your area you need to provide that depth. The Wohler camera that I use does not do depth. It will locate where the camera is, but traditionally a sewer line outside of the house is about 2 feet, and then at the curb it's about 6 feet. So you're generally, depending on how far you are away from the house, is that depth. And usually the main city sewer is between 10 and 15 feet in the street. Now if you have basements, obviously this goes down lower so they can accommodate that. It depends if you have, if your sewer line's at your basement floor. A lot of times you might have them up higher where you can get to them. So, like I said, it'll vary depending on where you are in the country. In some areas, depending on frost lines, that will vary as well. All right, so a good portion of the sewer cameras are battery or plug-in. And so I chose a camera that has a battery system. I want portability. That's key for me. I find that I can get the sewer camera that I have comes with 2 batteries, and I'll get 2 to 3 hours of continuous use. So let's just say 4 to 6 sewer inspections per battery. I've always got one that's fully charged, and then the one that if it goes dead, I bring it home and I get it charged. And so I always have a full charge one and I'm ready to go. So something to think about in your sewer inspection. So a couple examples that we'll go through. This is a 1960s home. This is a pretty much like a 60-70% root growth. This is a connection between a ABS drain line to or cast iron to a clay pipe. And the pipes typically, especially with clay and cast, will have a little variance in size difference. And they might use a boot, like a rubber boot that connects the two together. The problem is that they're never always that good and tight. And so as a little bit of water and sewer leaks out of that line, the roots are just looking for it. And you've probably walked down the street and seen where a tree has lifted an entire sidewalk, and it's like, how did that happen? Well, the tree kept growing. Same thing with these roots. They will just break apart that connection because they want to get in there and get the nutrition, their nutrition. And on the right picture, this is actually what we call a belly. This is where you have a root growth or a pipe that's going uphill and it causes water to sit in the line. You should never see water sitting in a drain line like that. Here's just another picture showing where root growth, and this is really where an offset has occurred and where 2 sections of clay pipe and the roots have grown through it. This is what we're here to locate. When you find these, we document all this in the video. You always have the video you can go back on and report, hey, at 59 feet we had this, and you write your report accordingly. This is a 10-year-old home. This particular customer came out of Los Angeles where it was standard, and this is what he ordered. He ordered the sewer inspection, didn't care about the age of the home, and I was surprised to even find I had actually a belly in the line, and then I had this, I think this is like a nail or something that went through the drain line. I couldn't really figure it out completely, but it was 8 feet into the line. And then, as we went to 10 feet, then I had the sewer line was going, started to go uphill, and it was backed up with water. So easily seen with a sewer camera. This is one of the first pictures I showed you of that 90% root growth in there. This repair, just this, was $2,500, okay? And here's the repair. So this was a trenchless sewer repair where they actually root it out, and so they grind away the root, and then they stick in a sleeve. Think of like a stent for somebody with heart problem or so. They fix their artery, they put a stent in there, and it gets epoxied into there, and this thing's like perfect. And that's how they repair those lines. So they don't have to dig up the lines, but the trenchless, they run the sleeve down, they recamera it, they epoxy everything. It's all done basically by a robot, pretty much. This was $2,500 repair, one section, 2 feet long. 40-year-old home, you can see an offset in the right. You can see this massive brain of roots and all kinds of nutrition in there. And it's not uncommon to go down these and find a lot of critters too. There are a lot of interesting critters down in these lines. Cucaracha. They're I don't know. I like my job, and I try and have fun with it. Sometimes I'll chase them, and they stop, and then they look at you like, "What are you doing?" And then So, anyways, it's kind of fun. I've gone in sewer lines where I've had hundreds of them, and they just run like crazy. So just keep in mind, if those things bother you, maybe it's not the business.
TMI, Pete. Okay.
Yeah. So here's an 80-year-old home in Los Angeles, remodeled, multi-million-dollar home, and they're selling this property $2.7 million. And we go down with our sewer camera, and this is an offset top left, root growth top right, root growth. And then when I'm down 73 feet into the line, you can see this is just, basically a little kid, going to the bathroom is going to get through there, and then you knock in 2 kids, and they're going to back this thing up. And that's the result you don't want to really hear about. Your guy's going to, if something goes wrong, the way it is, they blame everybody. And why didn't we know this? Why didn't you tell me this? Well, that's why this opens up an opportunity, and people will absolutely spend the money with you. So this is a little bit of a scale buildup in a drain line where it's backed up. Now, when I come to these, if I can't see in the water with the camera where it's very mercury, that's about the extent of what I do. I charge my fee, and then I'm going to recommend they have the line rooted and cleaned or hydrojetted. And I explain all of this in the training so that they know, what they're up against. But the plumber's going to then be additional fees that's going to get recommended, because my job mainly is I need to determine, do you have a problem or not? Okay, and since I told you 80% of them have problems, it usually leads into additional fees, and that's where you can look at this opportunity to make additional revenues. Obviously, if you're having to have additional people coming in, but we want to know, do we have a problem or not? So this is extensive scale. This line needs a hydrojet, needs to be cleaned out before we can know the true effect of this. If the cast iron is cracked, damaged. So this is the kind of stuff that will cause blockage and backups. This is a sewer line that needs to be replaced. This is a line where there was a patio. They put a sewer clean out in, and they just busted a hole right through the clay pipe. You can't do that. They poured concrete over the top of it, but see, what they didn't do was go through with a sewer camera and recognize the fact that they collapsed the sewer line in areas and broke it. So you just wouldn't know this unless you had a sewer inspection. So important thing. So the perfect storm is really when you go to your properties. I'm going to send out a little survey, and I'll talk a little bit about this here. How many of you guys are really offering this right now? Have you, do you already do this? Have you thought about it? Do you, obviously I think a good percentage of you feel that this is a good opportunity. for making more money. I look at it like, when I come to these houses, I've got an accessible clean out, I've got trees, whether the house is for sale or it's a refinance on the loan. There's a great opportunity, and like I said, people will buy this from me, and so I think this is a good opportunity. So let's just kind of close this out. Let's see where people are. We had 53% of the people are not offering this. And here's an interesting one. 37% of you guys are recommending this, that other companies do this. So, what that is that is giving the money away. You're leaving money on the table for somebody else, and that's where I'm trying to help you understand that you can bring this home to mama. All right? And so anyway, so some people are 11% as well, so you guys can see that. All right. So obviously newer clean out, sewer, trees, all opportunities for you in doing this survey. All right, so keep in mind also, do some research on where you guys, I know we have people from all over the country that are on our webinar here today. Thank you for taking your time out of your day. And look in your local areas. We've got actually about 7 cities in the state of California that require a sewer inspection as part of a real estate transaction. So it's, the way I look at it is that if these cities are going to require, and why would they do that? The reason why is because these homeowners are having root growth that's affecting the main city sewers, and they're cleaning out these roots and finding out it's the homeowners' lines that are damaged that they're responsible for. So they found that, look, if they require you to do a survey up front, that means less money for the city or county to take care of when it comes to maintaining their main sewers. So, there are more and more cities that require it. This is just a little bit of the verbiage that talks about that you have to have a sewer inspection if the house is going to be transferring ownership. So a lot of people have asked, how do you present this to your clients and stuff? And I create, obviously with home inspection side, I add photos only to my report. There are some softwares that allow you to add videos. You can do that. But what I do is I take the video, put it on a thumb drive. I buy, $1, $2 thumb drives on Amazon, and I put the video on there for them. I have a copy of it, and then I write up my report, and then I'll include photos, and I'll usually describe, hey, at 25 foot a root growth, an 80% block at this, or an offset, or a belly in the line. And then I will then refer that on to a local plumber or so that specializes in the, who can quote them and give the additional information. So something to think about. All right, so a couple of testimonials. This is just a guy who bought a couple years ago from us, and this is kind of feedback from understanding that he invested quite a bit of money in the slow months, but he's got multiple inspectors. And he basically said that the most time he's ever spent was 15 to 20 minutes. And he got everything he needed just from our training. And this was my favorite part, is what I put in red, is he says, all my guys love it because it's so easy and they get a raise since I pay them a percentage of the fees. So I have a lot of guys with multi-inspector firms that say, and I tell you, look, there's ways of building this in with your other guys where, they're getting a portion of it, and make them vested where they're giving up a portion of their take to help finance the camera. So if you have to finance it, there's ways of doing that. And so anyways, he gives his scheduling office $10 if she can upfront, sell it. So he's saying, look, everybody's happy. He says, she's happy, guys are happy, I'm happy. So, this is one I just got yesterday. And I asked this guy, Josh, what he thought about the training. He says, it was great. I'll do my first scope tomorrow and feel comfortable doing it. I appreciate the way you put it together. And the key that I'm trying to tell you here is that I am an inspector by trade, been doing this pretty much all my life. And I built a training that I would understand, and I understand the way you guys think. May not know every aspect of a 203K, but I know what you're the general gist of what you're doing and how you can present this and make more money. So the camera I chose is a Wohler 350. There is a model 3, I actually have the 350 Plus, and I can explain a little bit of the difference. If you look at your handouts, you guys, on your side of your screen, you'll see a thing where you can download some handouts. I encourage you to do that. There's a catalog. Also, there's some promotional stuff that we have, and I did some comparisons of some sewer cameras that are on the market. So definitely look at that. And the difference between the cameras, a 350 is a pan and tilt camera, a 350 Plus is a pan and tilt but has a removable pan and tilt camera. So you can remove the camera head and then put on a fixed camera head. Why would you want to do that? It has a 1-inch fixed camera and a 1.5-inch pan and tilt. So that gives you the ability that if you want to go underneath the lines underneath the house, maybe a smaller, like a 2-inch drain line, you can't get through a 2-inch with a pan and tilt. So that's where that's beneficial, is having just a few more opportunities for going down some lines with a smaller camera head if you needed to. So I have that, and I also do other types of surveys with my infrared servicing company. And periodically I might have a small area that I got to get into. And so having options, it works out to, I don't know, about $1,500 more for having the Plus version, which has the removable camera head. But I also look at it as another thing, is that if my camera head ever damages, I've got a backup, and it's also easier to get service when I might have to just send in a camera head instead of sending in the whole case. So that's another factor. Another thing is, if you want to do chimney inspections, you definitely want to look at the 350 Plus, because to put in that additional kit where you're doing you need a what's called a Viper rod, which pushes the camera. A sewer camera cable is not strong enough to push up a chimney, so you need a stiffer rod. That's what the chimney sweeps use, and you remove the camera head and it actually reverses the camera so it's looking down as you go up the chimney. And so this kit that I was telling you about works with the 350 Plus. So as we discussed, there's a training, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of the special, and then we'll kind of end this out here. We're getting a little bit past the hour here, so we should be finishing up in the next few minutes. But I've developed a training. It's about 4.5 hours, all online. It is available full ASHI, NACHI credits, you know, and I designed it with basically introduction. I talk about some of the things we talked about today. I talk about equipment. I talk about hands-on, a lot of videos, how to clean the sewer camera as you're retracting it, so that we don't have a dirty system. I mean, I'm comfortable to shake my client's hand at the end of the inspection. Although I joke with them all the time, when I'm shaking their hand, I hold on to it good. And I'll tell the wife, I'll say, well, you know where my hand was, right? Usually they ew and thank you very much. All right, so some of you may not have the money, you know, keep in mind sewer cameras, like I said, range. The camera I use is $7,600, okay? And a lot of guys go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, considering the fact that I spent $1,000 to get in the home inspection field and tools, that was a lot of money at the time. And now how can I fathom spending? Well, guys, I've never not made 6 figures in home inspections. And I can tell you that we can afford good equipment, and so I take the attitude now. I have a really good IR camera. I have a $15,000 IR camera that I use, and I have a $7,500 sewer camera. I don't care that the guys are out there that can do $1,000 sewer cameras, but I like mine because it does features and things that I like and I'm proud of, and my customers see that professionalism as well. So just to give you a little general terms, you know, if you finance, let's just say a $7,000 term, if you charged $175 a month, actually a 5-year term on $7,000 is less than what it would cost for one sewer scan at $175. So if you think you can sell just one of these a month, then you certainly can, you know, make money with it. You know, all you have to do is make, you know, one inspection. So I know there was a few of you that did say that you were doing them, and if so, you know, you can just input kind of your fee structure, and then we'll distribute that if there are those that are making this. But I'll give you guys an idea of what kind of money people are making, whether even if you're outsourcing this, you're inputting a fee for the other contractors to do that, and obviously that might be of interest for you. So like I said, if you can sell one a month, you can finance it. It would pay for it. Everything else is going to be cash in the bank at that point. So I see it as a good opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and just a couple more seconds, and then I'll close this poll out so I know it wipes up some of your screen. So, all right, poll slowed down, and we find that 43%, the largest percentage of guys, are charging between $200 and $300 on that survey. 29% between 150 and 200, and 29% between 100 and 150. Like I said, even at $100 for 20 minutes of work, you can see the value in there. All right, so let's close that out. So here's a webinar special. So a couple things. Catherine asked me if I would be able to put on a live training specifically for 203K and FHA consultants. And so I have agreed to do that. And so, we offer all of our training online. So what I'm going to put together for you guys, and working with Catherine on this, is that if you want to go to 203K Discovery Days, I want to help you get there. And if you want to do sewer scans, I want to help you get there. So our course, we charge $595 for it. All right, and I give you the online training right now. You can start working on this business. And then September 20th, we're just trying to work out some more details. We want to gauge the interest of people that would be interested in doing this. Would love to hear from you if you want to make it. You register for this class, and then I will do a live training so that you're going to get basically the solid information you need. You're going to have 2 months to get this going. You got any pitfalls? We're going to work through that together in Boulder. And then if you can't make it to Boulder, then we have another class on the 30th in Myrtle Beach. But here's the thing, I'll also cover your registration for 203K Discovery Days. So that's going to be an important thing, because obviously that'll be a big savings for you. And then not only that, I will credit you your full $595 back. So you're going to be getting the Discovery Days free, you'll get the training and the live training, and I'll credit you back every penny towards a purchase of a wall or sewer camera if you're interested in purchasing from us. I want to tell you guys that I'm only picked one sewer camera. I did not choose multiples. And the reason why is because this is the best camera. This is the best camera for what we do. If you're a plumber, I would tell you it's not the best camera. There are other cameras for those guys. But from our aspect, I like the compact portability, and it does everything I need, does great pictures, videos, and features like that. So anyways, that's available.
You know, someone asked a quick question. Just want to interject here. They were saying that are these promotions available to inspectors who are not currently 203K consultants but interested in becoming one? You are our perfect person, because the 203K Discovery Days is a 203K certification educational forum. It is 2 days where we teach you how to take off that home inspector hat and how to become a consultant. We give you all the resources to be able to submit your application to HUD, including the knowledge assessment test and software education training on how to use the report. Someone mentioned about is there a reporting software, and is there pre-made verbiage? So so if you are looking for more information on, we're going to be holding another webinar in about 3 weeks. For people who are interested in the 203K Discovery Days. I know a couple of you are saying I'd like more information, but you can go to the website 203kdiscoverydays.com, and you can see the information there. But this is fantastic what Pete is doing, and he offered this just so that you know. I didn't have to ask him. He was so excited at the level of opportunity, because it's a win-win. Your client is getting a service that they so need, that you've obviously see that they need. You're getting the revenue, possibly twice, and your client is getting a service that they're not having to pay for, because they get it reimbursed to them out of their closing costs. So it's like the money's coming from the bank, from the lender, from the mortgage insurance. And so everybody's getting paid, and nobody's really out of pocket except the lender. And they're amortizing this cost over what? 20, 30 years. So basically they're having to pay pennies on the dollar each month for this such a valuable service. So I can't thank you enough, Pete. And the costs on the systems are really incredible, especially with your financing opportunities. To tell you the truth, that one system, the Wohler BIS 250 with locator, the 3590, a 203K consultant can actually earn that much money on one project. If you have $1,000 work write-up cost plus your allowable fees, and you have 6 draw inspections at $600 at at $350 a piece, you've made over $3,000 on one house.
Yeah, so if you guys can really you can crunch your own numbers and determine how it benefits for you. If you know that you want to go forward, you can buy the camera and then all those things. You can buy the training, test the waters. Like Catherine said, the 203K is really discovering, is this for you? Is this what you want to do? And if it is, you're going to have all the resources to go forward. So you can download that inspection sheet. The links are live within the PDF that you download, so you can click on it. If you need to apply for financing, we've got it. All right, so I'm going to go through a few Q&As and then we'll get through here. For the most part, this is most of what it is, but a lot of people are interested in what guys are asking out there, and I'll try and answer a few of these as quick as I can. Joe in Chicago, what's the average time in hours to be proficient in using the camera? The training is 5 hours. I showed you the testimonial from a guy who just finished yesterday. He's ready to do his first one today. Is there a separate agreement and liability associated with the service? It ends up being a line item on my inspection agreement. So because everything we do as inspectors is based on what's visible at the time of the inspection, this is just expanding my vision. So I put a line item for this and the fee that I charge with it. What are the client's expectations of results? Obviously, they want to know, do we have a problem or not? And then you guys are going to have to make some recommendations and costs and incorporate that into your system. The average lifespan, I don't know whether you're asking regarding the camera or the plumbing system, but the plumbing system lasts until it fails. Sorry to be so blunt about that. But, we get 10-year-old systems that can fail, but relatively speaking, 20 to 30 years is a good time that we find more problems in those age range. The camera, it's going to last. If you take care of your equipment, I don't have problems with my equipment. The guys that have problems are the guys that abuse it, and you know who you are, because you throw your tools, I found it's like a good pair of sunglasses. When you spend money that hurts, you probably take care of those glasses. When you buy the dollar ones, you sit on them. All right, Tyrone asks, will it work for septic systems? Yes. Same stuff, you just have a line that might not be going as far away. William wants to know what risks of what can go wrong, breaking pipes, equipment breakage. Yeah, I always tell guys to work with a plumber in your area that you're going to be referring some of this work to, who can give you that additional information, who might be doing some of those repairs. They're dependent on you, obviously, requiring some of these repairs. They're going to be there to take care of you. And that's what I tell a plumber that I got in my area. I say, look, if I have a problem, you come and save me. Well, let's just say, knock on wood, I haven't had any problems yet. I haven't had any equipment breakdown, but I have had some of our members that have gone through our training that had a problem, and it's usually a result of them doing something stupid. Okay, so something that I didn't teach you to do, that you were trying to force something to happen that didn't work. So, but for the most part, you're going to get the confidence in the training. All right, Jesse wants to know the probability that when you open the sewer cleanouts in the basement that wastewater will enter the home. Good question. Yeah, so the first thing I do when I start my survey is I go advise the clients that if somebody is in the home, or they are in the home, and let's say utilities are on, yes, I ask, does anybody need to use the restroom? Because anything you do, I will have to see. And they all laugh, and then I can move on. All right, so anyways, nobody's using the system when I'm going through. And yes, when you are in a basement, when you go into that clean out, that is usually just behind the Y that ties right into the line. And if there's any problems, yes, it will shoot back. Yes, I had this happen to me once. I learned. Greg and Michelle want to know how to sell sewer scans. We're going to teach you all about it in the training. What reasonably priced equipment to purchase? I told you what my thoughts are. Like I said, there's guys that can go out there and buy $1,000 systems. You have to determine where you are and what professionalism you want to present yourself with. Can you show up with a $500 jalopy car to your inspection? Sure you can. All right, so you have to think about that. I buy equipment that'll be there for me, that basically, and Wohler is built, made in Germany, and they have a service center in New Hampshire. Okay, so all the equipment, it can be serviced here in the United States. You're not having to send it out of the country. So there's a lot of the Chinese cameras, which are the low price ones, they might have to get out of the country to get it fixed, and usually you just throw it out and buy a new one. What's the difference between cameras? I gave you a sheet that you can download that tells you some of the specs between them and costs to go with it. How do I update my contract to include sewer inspections? Like I said, I use my standard contract and add a line. What is my liability? Hopefully that you say what you see. If you fail to report what's visibly seen on a sewer camera, your liability is there. So something definitely to consider. All right, so as we discussed, we'd like to see you all there in Boulder, Colorado. It's up to you. You can click on the registration link within that flyer. That'll get you registered. And I'd love to give Catherine awesome feedback that we've got a lot of guys registered and ready to be there and want to get involved in this new great opportunity for 203K inspectors. Like I said, you're going to get free registration. So once you register with us, I'm going to register you and you'll get an acknowledgement from Catherine as far as you going to be there in Boulder. And I will see you, Mark. Right now we're planning for the 20th. I don't have all the logistics on that. We will work on that. It'll be an evening, so you're just going to come in the day before this starts. We're going to do it from 5 to 9 o'clock. We're going to jam it out. But like I said, you're going to have all the opportunity to go through your class online. So if you register tonight, you'll have access tomorrow.
You actually will be able to, you can fly in the morning of Denver, come right to the hotel, check into your room, and just go right to your training. And there's a wonderful restaurant there at the facility, and we're trying to work on a little after-event snack for you guys. So, yeah, it's in the works. We just need to know how big a room do we need to have for this event. And at the end, and actually when you do register for this event with Pete, and he sends me that email, we're going to be sending you some pre-event information and scheduling you for a pre-event email. So that if you're not a consultant yet, part of that ticket price that Pete's paying for you will include certification, preparation, and training, so that when you come to the conference, you'll literally be able to have your paperwork approved and submit it off to HUD when you get back home. So you're going to be getting such income potential creation opportunities in both the sewer scan evaluation services and in 203K consulting. So I can't thank Pete enough for that. So this is so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I'm happy to do this. And like I said, if there was any questions that were not addressed in this, you can email me, Peter at United Infrared. I know there was a couple just asking on software. I, use like 3D software for what I do in home inspection. And like I said, it's just photos and descriptions that are put right in my plumbing section of my report. And we do give you a Microsoft Word template where you can do a standalone report. That all comes with the training. I give you marketing support. You can actually have a video custom made for your company. So there's a lot of things that you get with the training as part of our systems. And then I think Catherine answered most of the other ones. Was there any other questions that you saw, Catherine, in there?
Well, there was one question about how do you protect yourself from bacteria. It's from one of my members, Patrick. I would say, what, hand sanitizer?
No,
gloves?
No, hey, let me tell you what I do. Remember we talked about not having to reinvent the wheel? I buy the thickest damn mechanic gloves I can get, the rubber ones. I go down to Harbor Freight. They're $12 for 50 pairs, and I buy these things. They're really thick rubber gloves, and that's what I use. And I honestly I use sanitizing wipes to clean and paper towels. And at the end, I got this really cool method of disposing of everything, and we explain it all in the training. So you're all good. The question came in, have you ever had a pipe break from removing a clean out? No. And I think, Patrick, as you understand, I go after the cream of the crop. If I can't get that clean out open, I let somebody else do it. You still get to, bill or recommend these surveys. It just might be somebody else, like a plumber, doing that. You're going after the cream of the crop. Why Wohler over some of the other brands mentioned? It was the pan and tilt. That was the key feature because I see the opportunity with doing chimney inspections and other types of surveys. There was no other manufacturers that had pan and tilt. That was a huge feature for me. And I think that pretty much answers everything. If there's anything else missing, like I said, call us. That's what we're here for. I am so thankful to Catherine Hall for opening her group up to this, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you and helping you build your business. I think Catherine we are two like half full people. I have never seen somebody so fun, even though Catherine knocks over all the brochures on my booth. And I turn her signs upside down. We have fun, and that's the goal. Let's have fun going forward. I hope you guys have a great week.
We're going to have a great time in Boulder. We're going to be having a lot of hands-on activities. So come, learn sewer scan, learn 203K. The question is, how long is this special going to be good for? Pete, that's a great question. How long are you going to open up this opportunity for people?
Well, right now what we did is we left it through this week that if you guys want to register, the button's on there. If you think that you want to do it and you can't, you're a straggler, that's all right. Just call us up, talk to me, and I'll see what I can do to extend this out. But for us, we've got a plan for events
Yeah.
and
And I have
just
to get
help
the
us.
information to the hotel on how big a room they want, and I've got to get them that detail quick as possible.
So I appreciate, so if you think that you need more than this week, just reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. But like I said, you guys have everything you need. If there's any problem, call our office, 888-SCAN-4IR, 888-722-6447, and Maureen will be here in the morning and she'll get you going. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you,
And look
everyone.
forward to working with you guys.
Until I'm able to support you in the future, be outstanding.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.